advice of Jesus, and I don't think I need to turn his advice down.
Okay, we have one or two last questions.
Yeah,
Rick has one, and then Bill.
Okay, circling back to the eminent domain question, what is your all's opinion and position on the Williamson County road plan, which is underlying all of that?
Rick, as a former realtor, that is a very good question. I can tell you this. The lady and the realtor that I recruited, her name is Terri Romere out of Liberty Hill. She has been instrumental in having that document removed from the county website. Why is that important? As you well know, that if you look at a plat and you see all their proposed roads, which make no sense, and they have not looked at that, they just looked at it and went, oh, I think we'll get from A to B and B to C, and we'll do like that. Did you see A to B, B to C? That's as much sense as that road map makes. But here's the impact to homeowners. If I'm trying to sell my property, my home, even in a residential subject area, if there is a proposed roadway, I am by law required to give that to the potential buyer. And if I don't know, because there's realtors by the dozen nowadays, and they don't understand the implications of roads and agricultural lands and all of that crap, they potentially put not only the homeowner in a litigation situation, they put the realtor and the buyer in a very costly situation. So Carrie Redding, who is a licensed realtor broker in Liberty Hill, because her land was being taken by the county and she was instrumental in changing that, she got that road map removed. Because honestly, until a road is needed, until proper planning is in place, there shouldn't be, I'm sorry, I'm talking to you, there shouldn't be a proposed map, because the proposed map is just that. But it opens up potential litigation to all the parties in play. And that, my friend, is irresponsible government. And I will not participate in anything that's going to harm our landowners. That you have my word on. You want to go now, since you've been affected?
No, I'll try to, yes. No, but that's an excellent point on the realtor side, because my wife's a real estate agent as well. And if you don't disclose certain things when you're selling your house, somebody moves in and then they say, hey, you knew there was going to be a road here. What's going on? You got a lawsuit on your hands for selling your property for not knowing it. So
For a proposal.
Yeah, for a proposal. And that's the whole thing, because it was public data, so you're responsible, right? So, but I think what I've said before, and I echo what she said, but I don't know as much about that specific subject as maybe Terri does, but I've got a lot more to learn on some of these aspects. But it goes back to the fundamentals of, hey, how do we protect and act in the best interest of the people that live here right now? Because we're going to get a lot of new people, and it feels like we're just getting pushed around and pushed out.
Pushed out.
Right now, there's not a whole lot we can do about it other than gripe and complain. We've got a commissioner's court sitting up there that's continuing on, pushing on. The map that she's talking about has not been pulled down.
It was supposed to.
Well, it ain't there. It's still there. It's alive and kicking.
Well, that was a promise they didn't fulfill.
Promise.
Shocking.
But anyhow,
We complained about it, put it back up there.
well, I can tell you this. Between now and January 1st of 2023, all I'm going to do is complain. All I'm going to do is ask for your vote to say that on January the 2nd, if somebody comes up with something like that, I'm going to say, whoop, hold your horses. Probably a little bit more language, stronger, louder than that. We need to look at this, because I'm a farmer and rancher. There's a gentleman out there trying to push on me that he pays my ag exemptions. He actually owns more land than I do. I only own 1 acre, but it happens to be in the middle of what's left, of a ranch. 150 acres left than what we used to have. But I only own 1 acre. And at one point in time, we were fixing to have our ranch cut in half in two with one of these grand roads that are gonna be about 75 yards from my house. And the folks from the city come out and they say, what's so great about this? It's just land, you know. Well, you got commercial property. I also got commercial cows. You know, I want my cows eating my grass. And I don't like eminent domain. And the next person, after I'm elected and sitting in that office, took the oath and gonna stand for the people. If they come up and tell me, we're gonna discuss and approve whatever, you know, the authorizing use of eminent domain, I'm gonna call them out right there in front of everybody. I don't believe in this nonsense. You know, when do they, if they can sit there for 3 to 40 something, when did they discuss, consider, and take appropriate action if they know to vote on it on 43 items right now? I don't like eminent domain. I have stood up for, as far as you're concerned, you want somebody with an AK-47, AR-15, or whatever be in front, I have been in front of the charge. I will fight for y'all tooth and nail over this eminent domain. It better have a real good reason why we have to condemn this property. And it better be after you have made a good faith effort to put the money into their pockets.
Okay, then we have Bill and then Laura.
The question is, and I'll give you a real quick background on it. When you use Article 1, Section 29 of the Texas Constitution to say no to this bad behavior, Article 1 is the Bill of Rights. Section 29 says that Article 1 provisions are inviolate and any laws passed to the contrary are void. We have a tool here. One of those provisions in Article 1 says economic eminent domain cannot be used for economic development. And it gets abused constantly. Would you use Section 29 to say no to the court and to all of the other people that are misbehaving?
I would.
I would.
I would use
and
it.
a whole lot more probably.
And there's not another law out there. I know at one point, and I don't want to misspeak because I'm not 100% sure what it was, but they did pass, and I don't know if this was a federal type deal, that was trumping that whole thing and saying, hey, you can take it. And that's how you see businesses come in and get, you know, have the, you know, and governments using people's property to accommodate a business coming in, which to me is a very dangerous precedent, but I think it's already been set. It's just a question of, can we use that and it be an effective argument still today? And if so, I'd absolutely use it. That's what we have to refer back to is our constitutional pieces of our of the Texas Constitution. If we can use that to be successful in keeping something from happening that is wrong, then absolutely we should use it.
And it's an easy answer. I mean, it's an easy answer. And,
But you gotta have the courage to stand up and do it.
well, I think what we have demonstrated here today, I think all three of us have the courage to do that in our own rights and ways. And I hope that we've demonstrated that to you in our discussion. We're not sitting here giving you all these political platitudes just to say, oh, vote for us. We want your vote. We want to earn your vote. And we want you to go out there and grassroots get those votes for us, because I think well, if you haven't determined by JT and Ryan that they're strong enough to, you know, lock arms with me, I think that we may have failed in our event today, but I don't think we did. I think we hit it out the park by showing you that we are convicted with the Lord, we are convicted with the Constitution of the United States, and we're convicted and committed to the people of Williamson County. I have no doubt we've proven that today. Finish us up, JT.
You're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. I told that to somebody the other day, and they said, oh, that's what Abraham Lincoln said, and it come out, and she brought it out. I mean, she produced it, and it was basically said the same thing. But if I have to go get some law advice or whatever to look up something like that, I'll do it. You know, the rumor has it that Jerry Jones built that monument to himself up there in Arlington through eminent domain. And that, I mean, is that for quote unquote public use? I think not. You know? So, if the Constitution says it can't be used for certain reasons, then it's back to this, I say what I mean what I say. I'm pretty certain that Constitution says the same thing, you know. It says there for a reason that you're not gonna do it. So I think we need to do it. And I don't care if you, the governor of the state of Texas, I don't care if you're on the Supreme Court or whatever, as the little old county commissioner from precinct 2, I will go kick their door in and get their attention and tell them you can't do it. I ain't scared.
We're right there with you, brother.
Okay, next we have Ed.
Yeah, I just, y'all said that you swear to do the Constitution and everything. I was wondering, everybody realizes we're already not living under a Constitution. That was totally destroyed on January 6th of this year. And that
2,000 years ago to fix that. And personally speaking, I'm gonna follow his advice. And you know, the wisest man that ever walked this earth other than Jesus wrote a book in that Bible that I read every day and tells me how to govern, how to live my life, how to do things. Chapter 28 in Proverbs to me is the politician's chapter. And 29 a very close second. But don't give up hope. Because we do live underneath a Constitution that guards and protects us. And it also gives us the means that if you don't like what the Constitution says, or what the people are doing in the against the Constitution, we can take care of them. You know, it does say, you
By
know,
voting them
abolish,
out.
you know.
By voting them out.
Well, yeah, okay. You know, we can get rid of them. You know, that's, you know, this politician that says, and this statement right here just irks me to no end. Somebody got elected, and I'll just use the last election, you know, somebody got installed in office, you know, on the, I didn't say elected office, I said installed in office on January the 20th of 2021.
Let's go Brandon.
You know, well, you know, elections matter. That's, you know, we're just gonna have to vote him out in 4 years. That means we gotta put up with these suckers for the next 4 or 6 years, 2, 4, 6 years, however long. You know, maybe we need to get vocal. And maybe we ought to start really getting in, but we gotta have the media, you know, to go with us. There are some out there that help us, you know. We gotta have other people that are passionate about what's going on to help us. You know, but the time is now. Election's coming up. Primaries on March the 1st. Well, the early voting starts early, but 14th to the 25th of February, but I suggest voting on election day.
Yes.
You know, start with us. Start replacing the incumbents. I have my big card is in the print shop right now. I'm sorry I don't have any here with me. I got the little business cards, but I have a mailer that's fixing to go out, and it says incumbency has brought about complacency. And that's what we're dealing with in precinct 2 and probably the county judge spot. Most likely the precinct 4 spot.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can say this, they'll probably echo what I'm having to say. When I said that I was going to run against an incumbent, I was told, well, why on earth would you want to do that? And roadblock after roadblock after roadblock by our own party. That's a problem. You should not oppose an incumbent. JT, your card is perfect. Incumbency versus complacency. That speaks volumes. I think from what you might have witnessed between the three of us is that, you know, sir, I didn't get to mention or talk to you about faith and hope. Those are the two pillars that I live on, because if without those, there's no life. really. And so I think what we've demonstrated here is that we all have solid biblical foundations. We all look to the Constitution to service and protect our oath of office. But I beg to ask any of you to think that if one of us strayed, the other two would not hold that one accountable? Think about it. I think that that is true. There's hope, there's faith, but there's got to be actions. God wants us to act. And now when he's talking about revival and a revision, it starts locally. And that's important. So you need to tell your friends. You know, in all three of our races, because of the way they redistrict, the decision is going to be made, minus election integrity issues, on March 1st. That's who you're going to see. And by God's grace, I pray that all three of us take those seats. But it is dependent on you, the people.
Amen. Okay, I think we have one more question, maybe.
There was one in the back
Barb?
too, Kathy.
Barb?
I just wondered, the county's anticipating a boatload of money coming in from Samsung due to taxes, activity, whatever they said, I forget the number. Have you thought about what is going to be the plan to use this money by the county? Because I anticipate everybody will be there with their hands out. And I think we need a plan in place before we get that money and priorities set. And I'm just wondering if you've all had a chance to think about that. Could we use it to greatly lower rates such that there really is a decrease in taxes? Could we pay off debt, which the county has, of it? Could we use it? I know that there's something about how the pay scales are structured in the county, but could we help the sheriff's office? Could we help CAC? Everybody's going to be there. Money, I think there will be developers there saying, well, good, now we can do this project. You got the money, and they'll make profit. I think all of you need to be thinking about it.
I think that's a very valid point, and I think you're right. And it does need to be assessed and looked at very carefully, because you're right. Whenever there's a big pile of money coming in, everybody's going to come for a piece of it. And it's one of the real priorities of Williamson County that that's where that money should be focused. And the taxpayer one is such a big one that Samsung got so many they got a massive 30-year deal where the first 10 years they're only paying a fraction of what they should be paying according to the law. But per their agreement, they have that reduction in tax rate, and I think the people should be rewarded, and maybe more specifically, the people in Taylor. I mean,
We can.
as potentially, I'm open for the conversation, but I don't know that it's one we resolve here. But we're going to bring this in here, and it impacts everybody to some degree. It definitely impacts the folks in Taylor, and if they're going to be taking their land and whatnot, I hope they do not have to go. They don't. Anybody has to go through what we went through over something. It should have been simple. It should have been very simple. Turns into 3 years and counting. But we got to look at it. But it's an excellent point, Barb. And I think we do need to look at that and prioritize where that money goes before they just start,
Handing it out.
If Samsung is going to give us millions of dollars, then we need to think about funding our sheriff's office. They are massively, massively underfunded. They have sheriff officers leaving. Just 3 weeks ago now, they had a sheriff officer left and came to Liberty Hill as a city policeman, making more money in the city of Liberty Hill than what he was making in the sheriff's office. I went over to the courthouse the other day to pick up some papers, and I was talking to some of the corrections officers. They're still sheriff deputies, but they're not the patrol people. A corrections officer over there, average salary is about $35,000 a year. A patrol officer, it might be up to 45. 40 to 45. They are massively underfunded. They have asked for money, and they will not. The Commissioner's Court will not talk to them. So I think that's where some of that money ought to go. Over in Precinct 2, out in the rural parts of the county, we have one ambulance. The county calls it a box. We got one box at one fire station. They just built the second one, They built the bay for it. It's in the ESD district, but they have no box to put in there. They just tried to get another one, and they're going to build one out on the other side of town. Cynthia Long turned down a 75-cent tax towards that building because she wanted it to go to a hospital district, a library district, or something else, whatever she sits on boards. You know, I think if my house caught on fire, if I had a heart attack, I'd much rather have an ambulance or a fire truck out there than a library book. You know, so let's start paying. The ambulance people are county paid. The fire department is ESD paid. Let's start paying some of these folks. Let's give them a decent wage. So if Mr. Samsung gonna give us millions of dollars, let's give it back to some of these county people. I like to go
Everybody's
use this as
gonna
an
want it,
example.
and we've got to have a comprehensive plan of how it's going to be.
Understood, but we gotta be in office before
I
we
don't
get
see
there.
Samsung giving us any money.
I don't
Well,
think they're giving it,
you know-
but it's going to be comprehensive.
I like to say this, you know, the county gave Samsung all this big money and everything. What did Samsung give us back as a show of appreciation? One of the big ladder trucks cost $1.4 million. You know, Samsung, I think, in paper, Austin American Statesman, last week or week before last, said Samsung made a profit of it was either 94 or 97 million dollars. You know, so Samsung could afford it to give the folks of Williamson County as a show of appreciation, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 of those big $1.5 million fire trucks. They could have gave, you know, 5 or 6 ambulance boxes. You know, they could have gave 10 or 15 police cruisers for the sheriff's office. You know,
Well,
$10 million, you know, as a show of appreciation.
They asked the people of Taylor to buff up the police department.
Well, when Samsung catches on fire, guess who's gonna go put them out?
Samsung.
Yeah, right.
let me, you know, you talked about planning, and my opponent sent out a mailer that is riddled with what we should say misinformation versus flat out inaccurate information. And so I decided to fact check him, and I went to speak to the sheriff directly because I don't like word of mouth, hearsay, and all of that. So he looked at the budget. Okay, he said that he was instrumental in giving, you know, 15 new positions over his tenure. That's inaccurate. The majority of the people that were given was in the year before he took office. But here's the most important thing. I went and spoke directly to the sheriff this past week, and he told me that he gives back money from his budget because he has unfilled positions. I believe the number that he told me of unfilled positions in his department was 50 positions. And so my question was, well, why do you have 50 vacant positions? And it goes to what JT said. Well, we're not paying them enough. And I said, well, have you gone to the court? Yes, and they won't give it to me. So if you look from fiscal year 15-16 to fiscal year 19-20 was, and then fiscal year added in 20. So you're looking at the county. Now, mind you, have we grown in these last 5 years? Exponentially, right? I'm a realtor. Holy crap, we don't even have enough houses to put the people that want to come here. So in our sheriff's department in the county jail, in 15 had 311 positions, and in 20, 324. Do the math, okay? Sheriff's department, 219 to 237, but you minus the 50 positions that aren't filled. So, and then you look at, we have the east side, which is rural 2 and 4, and then we have the west side, which is got a lot of activity because it has a lot of the city of Austin and all their nonsense with the homeless crimes and the crimes and all that. So if we've only got, and now mind you, this is a 24-hour period, okay? Mind you, you look at that and you go, oh, well, we only have so many people per shift. But what happens on the west side if you've got all kinds of nonsense going over there that requires police and law enforcement, ambulances, anything like that, a wreck or crime or anything like that? What happens if it happens the same thing all the way over at the tip of our Bartlett, Copeland, Weir, Taylor, count where the county is responsible? There's not enough resources. So you look at that and you go, this is common sense. And I don't understand why the county commissioner's court isn't listening to the sheriff. Whether he be Republican or Democrat, it doesn't matter. What matters is it's law enforcement and public safety. Where he says he's supported that, I would like to ask him on record, because he won't talk to me, imagine that, because he won't answer my questions, because the questions that I did ask about his commissions and his self-dealings in his real estate practices in development, and where he puts on his website that he leverages his relationships with county officials and sellers, got an ethical issue there. So I asked the open records request. Well, guess what? They played their game of, oh, please clarify at day 9. And then at day 9 again, we submitted this request January 3rd. On February 1st, they decided that we need to send this to the AG for their opinion to opine whether or not we, the people, are entitled to that information. It's a public sale. It's a government money. It's our money. Why do we have to send it to the AG to opine that decision? What are you hiding, Commissioner Bowles? What are you hiding, Commissioner's Court? Because the other 3 or 4 should hold that person accountable, and I guarantee you these 2 will, and these 3 will when there's a question. There shouldn't be a question. So when it comes to a plan, we will have one, but we can't give you that plan right now without doing the facts.
But it needs to be just there and aware of. And I think that what they said at Commissioner's Court, I don't always understand it all, but they couldn't just unilaterally raise pay scale in one department because it affects the whole thing. And there's something about that plays into this, but I don't understand it all.
Yeah, we need to look at it for sure. I mean, I just witnessed in the private sector 20% increase in pay over the last year due to the inflationary measures that are happening and the growth and the cost of living around this area, Austin, surrounding areas. It's amazing. And yes, our officers are very important, and we need to be competitive in that regard. Otherwise, you're going to have the bottom of the barrel, and you don't want that either.
We're just doing the very same thing that the commissioners have to do, where we want people, certain departments and things need more money, but yet the people are saying, we need to cut tax, and it's a whole thing.
But when there's transparent discussion about it, you create a win-win and a supporting document of the budget.